Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're logging on from today for this special webinar, How Digital Project Delivery is Helping to Design and Make a Better Future. This webinar has been organized by Infrastructure Global in partnership with US software corporation Autodesk, and I'm looking forward to finding out about the latest developments in digital project delivery over the next 60 minutes. My name's Andy Walker, and I'm managing editor of Infrastructure Global and also a construction and infrastructure journalist. You're very welcome to be here today. And as I say, we're looking forward to a very interesting discussion over the course of the next hour. We're going to hear from three leaders from the industry about issues related to the application of digital project delivery, industry solutions, and technology integrations to design and build for the future. Digital project delivery, of course, is a way of working where infrastructure projects are conceived, planned, designed, built and operated in an interactive digital space for all stakeholders to access. The approach relies on the use of a common data environment to support multidisciplinary collaboration and design management, and we'll be exploring some of those issues today. Of course, the end result of all this should be the delivery of more efficient and effective projects with greater collaboration and partnership working than previously seen. Digital project delivery is a foundational way of working to address the present and upcoming challenges in the infrastructure industry. We've got a good lineup of speakers today for this event. We have Guillaume Joubert, who is the Senior Infrastructure Strategy Manager at Autodesk. We also have Jay Mazer, who is the Vice President for Digital Delivery at Mott MacDonald. And we have Stacey Sinclair, who's the Partner and Head of Technology and Innovation at the law firm Fenwick Elliott, and who is also the Chair of FIDIC's Digital Transformation Committee. Unfortunately, our fourth speaker, Leslie Ward, has had to retire from the webinar today due to some issues that she has to deal with. So her apologies are received, and we wish her all the best for the future. Anyway, our first speaker is Guillaume Joubert, who, as I said, is the Senior Infrastructure Strategy Manager at Autodesk. And in that role, he has a key involvement in the transportation, land development and water sectors of Autodesk's operations. He's got around 20 years experience in the industry, including roles implementing BIM solutions and also as a sales manager, country sales manager in the structural engineering market. He also leads the global strategy for transportation at Autodesk and regularly advises many leading clients in the sector. So without further ado, Guillaume, it's over to you.
Thank you, Andy, and hello, everyone. So effectively, I'm Guillaume Joubert, one of the industry strategy manager at Autodesk. Today, I lead the global strategy for our transport design business at Autodesk. So my role is to define for our transportation design business, our direction of growth for our core business. In other words, what we are able to cover today, for our geographic expansion and where we need to diversify through three modes of growth. One, organically with our own resource, and two, partnership, and three, acquisitions. To do that, I work obviously internally with product development, sales, marketing, but more importantly, externally with partners, customers, institutions, and industry associations such as FIDIC. Customers and institutions provide crucial external factors which are inputs to define trends, what is changing, which influence ultimately our strategy. At the end, we want to partner to provide better solutions to better serve the industry, to achieve better business outcomes. And if we want to keep it at a high level, we recognize three megatrends. First, demand is changing. There is an unprecedented demand for work and projects. Our customers are telling us that they have more work than ever before, driven by population growth and some demographic shifts. People are moving in and out of cities. and with new sustainability, resiliency, and retrofit requirements, which brings a very complex equations. So demand is changing. The way we work is changing. Since COVID, we work more remotely. I mean, we are in a webinar right now. So there is a push for industrialization of construction. And at the same time, there is a big labor shortage. We don't have enough kids going to college to study architecture and engineering. So the way we work is changing. And finally, the world is different from a digitalization standpoint. There is an explosion of data, a lot more data than in the last 20 years, created by many, many tools. It is complicated for all of us to connect all these data and all these tools at the same time. Owners and infrastructure managers are asking for digital twin. And finally, we see more automation and the rise of generative AI to help to solve them some of these complex problems. So the world is different, very different from a digitalization standpoint. And all of these trends and pressures are forcing all of us in a rapid pace in digital transformation. For us at Autodesk, BIM, or Building Information Modeling, is a foundation of that digital transformation in our industry. In one sentence in design, BIM is a methodology to build digital before building real. And during and after construction execution, BIM is a methodology to keep a digital replica of real assets. The name of that digital replica is digital twin, and this is an output of BIM. And to effectively enable the BIM process, we need a digital project delivery platform that connects technology, processes, and data, and obviously, ultimately, project stakeholders, which imply to make change management plans. But we have a lot to do. To underline that statement, I would like to mention some statistics. According to a FMI report named Big Data Equal Big Questions for the engineering and construction industry, some of the largest infrastructure projects create such a large amount of data through emails, documents, and workflows that 96% of all data remains unused after construction in the engineering and construction sector for those largest infrastructure projects. Number two, 13% of working hours are just spent looking for project data and information. Think about it in your daily job. How many hours you are spending on managing your emails, looking for information, and which amount of data that creates? And 30% of engineering and construction companies are using applications that don't integrate with each other. It's a FMI report. I highly recommend that you read that report. But one of the main reasons that lead to these results is that we are first and foremost in an industry that dynamically requires diverse actors with different roles. In fact, stakeholders' involvement in large amounts of type varies and grows enormously over time during the project life cycle. Moreover, these organizations are unique because infrastructure projects are unique. And to draw a parallel from the manufacturing industry, we are basically making a unique prototype, which also differentiates us a lot from this manufacturing industry. So we can't replicate 100% of what they do. These different stakeholders exchange information directly without necessarily centralizing it, and often by emails. Or if they are centralizing it, they potentially do it in a subgroup created at the time of the project phase, potentially via isolated cloud, and for most creating totally disconnected data islands in the evolution of the project. So project organizations are fragmented, and this often leads us to be digitally fragmented. Now, with digital project delivery, we see exactly the same digital organization, but under a common data environment. Connected all those isolated clouds. Each team can work in their own part of this common data environment, whether it's a design team, a construction team, or the owner. During all the phases, the information flows through a central repository where ideally it is more easily controlled and up to date. The platform provides mechanisms to get information flow so that construction quantities or drawings and other information such as markups and issues are available when appropriate. The platform enables a file-based approach where people can put all of their project and asset information in one place and share with everybody, and we can track what's happening Who changed what, when, where, and how. A real platform which can help in information management. For Autodesk, the common data environment is Autodesk Docs. It's the common denominator for all of project stakeholders for us. It's the one place where everything needs to go eventually. But to enable digital project delivery, we provide additionally digital collaboration services to reduce the effort required by BIM in the early stages, and design and construction management services to drastically decrease the 96% of data unused in the FMI report. Through the evolution of collaboration, customers using digital project delivery have experienced significant improvement, hence collaboration and productivity resulting in bigger profit margins and increased client satisfaction, leading to winning more projects. This creates a cycle of value, driving progress and benefits for all involved stakeholders, communities, by potentially increasing revenues, reducing costs, manage risk, and provide new ways to design and build better, more sustainable and resilient infrastructure. And to talk about project or business outcome, I think it's better to hear what the perspective from a design firm angle are. And to talk about the value of digital project delivery for project or business outcome, I think it's better to hear that from a design firm. So at that level, who better than a VP of digital delivery can talk about it from a prestigious engineering design firm? That's why we are lucky to have Jay Mazer, Vice President of Digital Delivery of Mott MacDonald, to talk about those potential outcomes. So thank you for your attention. And before that, back to you, Andy.
Thanks, Guillaume, and thanks for giving us that neat little entree to our next speaker, who is, as you just correctly pointed out, Jay Mazer, who's the Vice President for Digital Delivery at Mott MacDonald. Jay is an architect with more than 20 years experience in the sector. His work on digital delivery strategic planning is helping to expand his company, Mott MacDonald's, project delivery capabilities through the implementation of new and emerging tools and progressive workflows. His expertise is helping the company to leverage virtual design, BIM, and other digital approaches to deliver projects faster and at lower cost. Jay has participated in many high-profile projects during his career, including the California High-Speed Rail Link, the Amtrak B&P Tunnel in Baltimore, and many, many more. And I know that we're in the hands of someone who really knows his stuff. So Jay, over to you.
Thanks, Andy. Thanks, everyone. Yeah, huge topic. Where do we start with benefits of digital delivery? I mean, I think it's pretty well documented that, this approach has truly transformed how we manage and execute projects. It really led to significant improvements across the board. Obviously, using a data-driven approach, a single common data environment, and a coordinated model, not only we can reduce errors and emissions, but also leverage that accumulation of information throughout the project lifecycle. As the project progresses, it's more and more data rich, and then that information can be definitely leveraged for the benefit of the project. And then again, through automation and data-driven methods, we're able to streamline our processes and enhance overall accuracy, which means our project teams can work more seamlessly, saving time and money, and ultimately delivering better outcomes for everyone involved. So if we look at a typical infrastructure project, really there's so many stakeholders and each one has a unique interest and unique goals. And I think digital delivery caters to all of them. So for example, owners, digital delivery provides owners with better transparency, real-time access to project data, and helps them make informed decisions and keep the project on track and within budget. As far as designers are concerned, it really enhances collaboration, allows for rapid iteration and optimization of designs, leading to higher quality outcomes and more innovative solutions. Now, during constructions, contractors are heavily leveraging these processes and workflows to streamline and reduce rework. which help them manage resources more effectively and ensure efficient construction processes. And then finally, the holy grail is, operators are finding this transition from construction to operation and operations and management is a little bit smoother than before, because digital delivery can provide a comprehensive digital twin of the asset, which is really invaluable for maintenance and long-term asset management. During working on these jobs, we definitely see digital delivery as a risk mitigation tool as well, especially on large infrastructure programs. It does provide a data-rich digital model. You can run scenarios to identify schedule and cost risks and contribute to the whole risk management process. And then, with latest enhanced predictive capabilities through data analytics, you can proactively identify and address potential risks, and obviously better communication and collaboration definitely help reduce risks. And really the ultimate goal is to foster a more integrated and cooperative project environment. And then lastly, in my opinion, perhaps the most important benefit of digital delivery is how it enhances the decision-making process. On large projects with multiple stakeholders and complex design criteria, precise and timely decisions need to be made to stay on schedule and within budget. And I think digital delivery provides that real-time data and detailed insights, allowing stakeholders to make quick, informed decisions. On many recent jobs that I've worked on, I think the hardest part was to decide what is it that the final solution is going to be. A lot of great contractors know how to build the job, but really, what is the final solution, and what are the right decisions have been the most challenging part of these programs. And by simulating multiple options, we can really find the best solution that works for everyone and maximize efficiency and minimize risk. So to sum it up, digital delivery does boost efficiency and quality. It serves as a risk management, as a strong risk management strategy. And most importantly, it enhances the decision-making process. It really ensures projects are completed successfully, on time, and within budget. So back to you, Andy.
Thanks very much, Jay. Some really interesting points there, I think, particularly about the efficiency as well. And I'm going to come back at you in the Q&A later to maybe dive deeper into some of those questions as well, because I think there'll be hopefully some questions from our audience on those issues as well. Just a reminder, if you do have any questions in the audience, please just post them into the chat. Any question at all for any of our panelists, or for all of them at once, please just put that question in the chat. But for now, Jay, thanks very much for that contribution. Our next speaker is Stacey Sinclair, and as well as being chair of FIDIC's Digital Transformation Committee, that's the International Federation of Consulting Engineers, Stacey is also a partner and head of technology and innovation at the construction law firm Fenwick Elliott. Stacey leads Fenwick Elliott's technology and innovation initiatives, overseeing the development and implementation of new legal technologies, as well as collaborating and engaging with clients on new digital technologies in the construction and legal sector. A construction lawyer, architect, and engineer, no less, by background, Stacey is also the secretary of the Technology, Construction and Solicitors Association in the UK. So someone, again, who is eminently well qualified to speak on this topic. So Stacey, over to you.
Thank you very much, Andy, and hello, everyone. It's good to be with you here today. So I suppose I'm coming at this at a slightly more legal angle. But what I wanted to say was that when we talk about digital delivery, digital transformation, the use of technology, the use of AI, it seems to me that there are really three key elements for success here. And we've touched on some of them already. Firstly, data and the importance and significance of that. Secondly, people ever so, and if you don't have the human aspect of it, heading for real problems. And thirdly, it's an enabling environment which allows for digital transformation. So the use of technology and AI is not going to happen in isolation. You're going to need good, accessible data, plus the human element within a digital and regulatory environment, which allows for its use and the outcomes that you're looking for. So I'm going to first focus on what I mean by that enabling environment, which allows for digital transformation. Of this, we've got at minimum 2 prongs here. First is that technical environment. Do you have that requisite digital infrastructure in place, be it everything from a power grid capacity to internet bandwidth, which you can't always expect to have in global jurisdictions around the world, server capacity, etc. Do you have the right licenses, platforms, the resources, capacity? You know, has that digital strategy really been embraced? So all of this really needs to come together if you're going to strive for success. But equally, the regulatory environment is ever so important for digital transformation and digital delivery of the project. So for example, in some jurisdictions, they may not allow for or recognize e-signatures on contracts, which could disrupt an automated process. Or looking maybe into the near future, does the jurisdiction recognize a smart contract, for example? And I'll pause here briefly on smart contracts. By smart contracts, I mean those that are legally binding contracts in which all or part of the contract obligations are defined or performed by a computer program. So if X happens, then execute Y. So for example, perhaps a concrete lorry turns up on site with the required amount of concrete and specification through the use of sensors that's verified, and perhaps the executed payment happens to the agreed amount to the subcontractor. So there's really 2 main elements to a smart contract. One is that all or some of the obligations are performed automatically by the computer program, but secondly, the contract is legally enforceable. Now that's ever so important, and there's been some debate in the UK regarding the legal status of such contract and whether it's valid and enforceable. And of course, organizations and contracting companies need to know this before they even start to go down that journey. But in 2021 and 2022, the UK Law Commission and an organization called LawTech UK published guidance and advised the government, which was really an important step for digital transformation in infrastructure and construction, and provided that much needed guidance. Ultimately, the Law Commission confirmed that the current legal framework within England and Wales is able to facilitate and support the use of smart contracts without much need for statutory reform. But that's just one example for digital transformation to exceed. It's really fundamental that the laws, the regulations, and policies are all aligned to create that enabling environment and not prohibit innovation or contradict digitalization. And specifically, obviously, with AI, how that's set to reshape the delivery of infrastructure projects, it's crucial to ensure, again, the regulatory environment there, which governs its integration and data privacy, data security. And of course, we're seeing the EU AI Act, and we've got the UK AI framework separately. But so turning to data, and it's already been mentioned previously, from a procurement and contract point of view, of course, data is ever so fundamental because just the sheer amount of activities, deliverable contract obligations that rely on data, analysis, measurement, management, monitoring, reporting, benchmarking, forecasting, all of the above, but fundamentally, and as it was mentioned previously, that data-led decision-making, it just simply can't be done effectively or efficiently without data. So we were obviously seeing a fair few issues arise with data. The use of data is never straightforward and includes many challenges. Accessing the data, perhaps the accuracy of the data, or the quality, type, and format of the data. Just a couple of examples, I suppose, in terms of the accuracy of data, there's very many stories where not all data tells the same story. And this certainly can create issues contractually if it's not set out. One example of that was a few years ago in the UK, there was a dispute that made it all the way up to the High Court. It was called Premier Engineering versus MW High Tech Projects. And there, the subcontractor was paid by the hour on an hourly rate. But there were 3 sets of data or 3 sets of records to record that time. You had manual timesheets, you had data from the turnstiles at the entrance to the site, and then you had biometric clocks. And no surprise, all 3 of those data sets told a different story. They didn't align, and of course there was a dispute. The judge ultimately found that after construing the contract, the timesheets and the biometric clocks were going to be used to calculate the payments and not the turnstile data, but that was based on the contract and the actions of the parties. But there's a real warning there that we need to be clear in our contracts if we want to avoid disputes later on in relation to data, and that's just one example. And of course, not all data is accurate or reliable, and we saw that at the outsets of ChatGPT and the heavier use of generative AI. And I'm sure many of you may have heard that example of that New York lawyer who used ChatGPT to research some case law, and he used ChatGPT. It was a personal injury case against an airline, and he used ChatGPT as the platform to find some case law to evidence his case. Which is what ChatGPT gave him. The lawyer put those cases to the judge. The cases were made up. Well, made up is probably not the right word because it implies some sort of human element to ChatGPT. But anyway, the cases were false, and the lawyer didn't check them. The judge did, and the lawyer was fined £5,000. And anyway, warning there: we need to check the outputs of technology and set and put in place processes and procedures, or we're going to run. You're going to face liabilities, the risk of sanctions and so forth if we're not checking the outputs. So a real warning there. So other issues with data that we're seeing, of course, access to data can be challenging. Just accessing the necessary data in order to implement the solutions that you're looking to do. Some organizations may not even know where their data is. Sounds a bit odd, but when you have large governmental organizations or very large global organizations, data can be siloed, housed in different servers around the world, and different parts of the organization may not even realize. So to gain those solutions that you're looking to, you really need to have access to it. Or perhaps in some cases you don't have permission to access that data, which can have real concerns there, or there's difficulty accessing the data. Just going back to my example with smart contracts, there was a few years ago here in the UK, there was a collaboration between some academics, contractors, and an organization called Catapult UK, which created something called the Weather Ledger, and which was a smart contract, or rather a smart clause, which aimed to determine automatically whether a weather event constituted a compensation event under the NEC form of contract, and then execute that contract obligation. But to do this, you needed to connect databases, connect sensors. This was all required, connect the sensors to local weather stations and so on and so forth. And all of this was necessary in order to be successful, and accessing that data was obviously, a key challenge in creating that smart contract. And then, of course, you see examples where perhaps you don't have access to data or access to a common data environment because perhaps of a dispute situation. In the UK, the first allegedly BIM dispute, what was just about that. The two parties disagreed over the contract terms. One party didn't pay, and the other party revoked access to the common data environment. So obviously real issues there to be alive to. There's of course other issues with data, which no doubt we'll touch on in due course. Ownership, intellectual property is a real issue these days. hosting issues and where does the data reside, and of course, cybersecurity. But ultimately, without data, it's very, very difficult to achieve digital transformation successfully. And my last point is people, of course, and I'm sure we'll come on to this in due course, but we really need to focus on the people, bring them along, providing the leadership and the drive, and to drive the strategy for cultural change is ever so important for the success of this digital delivery. And of course, investing in people. There's likely to be a very huge capacity or resource gap in the coming years with talent and training. So are we going to be reskilling or upskilling? And there's going to be a real challenge with that. So bringing people along, understanding what we're going to do there is going to be a real challenge. But ultimately, one to think about, of course, technology, and in particular AI, it doesn't have that human experience. And at the point in time where we're at in the maturity of this, AI doesn't know the right answer, and that human element is needed really to get it right in any particular application. So with that, Andy, I think I shall hand back to you. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much, Stacey. And I think, as ever, very interesting to hear some of those points about some of the challenges and some of the legal kind of issues that people need to grapple with, which I think is only natural when you're dealing with, something that's, relative, and everything's relative, of course, new in the industry. I can see a number of questions coming in through the chat, so that's great. One of the things I just wanted to kick things off with is to look at the kind of the urgency of going down this route, because yes, there are obviously some challenges. Yes, there may well be concerns that people would have in the industry about going down, if you like, a new route, and we'll get to those shortly. But I just wanted to go back to Guillaume and just ask you, Guillaume, in your experience, why is it urgent that people go down this route, and what really, from your experience and perspective, is actually driving the pace of this change at the present time?
I think it's tied to the three mega trends I provided at the beginning. So the demand is changing. So digital project delivery provide a flexible way to adapt our capacity based on the demand, and as I just mentioned previously, provide new ways to design and build better, more sustainable and resilient infrastructure based on capitalization of data from construction and operation. Thanks to Connected BIM with digital project delivery, we are able to simulate traffic and mobility to evolve capacity of transportation or building or water systems due to those demographic shifts. So first, the demand is changing, and digital project delivery is able or is a mechanism through building information modeling to solve that problem. By nature, the way we work is changing, and by nature, digital project delivery use cloud and facilitate remote work. So basically, we are answering that question. And as there is a push for industrialized construction with the power of the cloud, we can facilitate prefabrication and even design quicker with the power of the cloud. And the big labor shortage in design can be partially covered because we are much more able to adapt and be flexible to outsource sometimes if we don't have all the capacity to deliver what we need to deliver. We can connect, collaborate very easily in the same office, city, country, geo, basically worldwide for direct interaction. The only challenge are obviously skills, time zone, language, culture, the others, and obviously legal, as Stacey mentioned. And finally, the world is very different from a digitalization standpoint. So as I said, thanks to a common data environment, digital project delivery offer the opportunity to centralize data by connecting different clouds with data residency and data security, where we need to have lots of compliance in there. Additionally, design and construction management services, which help to rationalize and reduce that explosion of data. We are integrating services to ensure we deliver compliant model with the right information for a descriptive digital twin and connectable to IoT systems. or ERP systems or enterprise asset management system. And we have added a version of that in our standard offering for digital project delivery. And to finish, indeed, we have a huge ecosystem of design automation customers recently available in the cloud, leveraging, different solutions, and an ecosystem of industry partners which they develop specific automation solution. And to finish with AI, we invest in different areas for that one. First, we invest in the transformation of unstructured data to structured data. So from reality capture, today with my phone, but with a lot of devices, we're able to make the reality capture with on cloud, but it's unstructured data, and we need to have structured data for that. So we are providing automation and mechanism through artificial intelligence to transform that into geometry. We invest in real-time analysis. That's super impressive, by the way, for me, because I am an engineer, and historically, I remember how it could be long to calculate some simulation for wind, noise, solar analysis. And here, based on experience of artificial intelligence, our solution can provide a first evaluation to help to investigate options quick. Now, transforming hours in seconds into investigation. But when you choose a design, then you validate the chosen design with a traditional simulation solution, because exactly what Stacy said, at the end, it's you. So it's a co-pilot. By having generative design capabilities and those AI simulation technologies to score the design, digital project delivery offers the opportunity of generative AI in planning phase. But I think that answers how digital project delivery help to tackle the demand, the way we work, and the digital transformation we are experiencing.
Thanks, Guillaume. There's been a few questions in the chat, and I just want to explore this issue briefly, and that is about standardization and I suppose rules and regulation. I think, in certain areas, our sector is notorious maybe for not having universally accepted standards across the board, certainly when we go from country to country. And I just want to ask you, Jay, whether or not you're finding any challenges in that area, particularly maybe as a result of maybe the lack of industry standards and protocols in this area, and what do you think might improve that going forward? Stacey mentioned earlier the EU's directive, and I know that obviously doesn't cover the states, but nevertheless, when you have some of these directives being passed by legislatures, they can sometimes start to influence other territories. What's your thoughts on that, the whole standards and protocols area?
Very good question. I mean, we have so many standards, obviously here in the US, and really it's there is no one overall standard where everybody works with. The reason is that a lot of states have their own standards to start with. A lot of departments of transportations have their own standards, and then other agencies as well. There's also federal agencies like FHWA, like GSA, National Institute of Building Sciences, that are putting out standards as well. So really the way we approach it in our day-to-day work is we work with our clients to see what their standards are and what's the common denominator. Things tend to move a little bit slower because of the magnitude and the scale. Just imagine, 50 states with 50 different, standards, or just multiple agencies working towards a common goal. I don't know that we'll ever have a one standard that covers everything, but definitely there's a lot of effort that's being put in to advance digital delivery and make it part of the day-to-day work. We're still using drawings for the most part as the contract documents. The model is not yet being used as the contract document, but I can see it in the near future becoming that way. So I hope that answers your question, Andy. It's a pretty complex topic for us here in the US.
Here's Jay. Stacey, you've got a view.
Yeah, and well, and just to echo that, I think things like here in the UK, you've got the ISO 19650 relating to BIM, and I think documents and the suite of documents around that is really helpful in terms of standardization and helping the industry with the digital delivery. Just to add that from a UK perspective.
Yeah, and just one more around the ISO 19650. I mean, definitely Europe and the UK especially adopted ISO 19650. We still don't have an annex here in the US for ISO 19650 as a US annex. So we've been using it. We've been custom according to what our clients' needs are and how it works best. But just to give you an idea that things move faster, I think, in Europe. Maybe it's the adoption of innovative solutions, or because countries have more control over the standards. But in the US, it's like each state has its own standards and protocols.
Thanks, Jay. One of the things that's central, I think, to this whole topic, this whole subject is collaboration and communication. Self-evidently, clearly that's going to increase / improve as a result of working in a digital environment. Obviously, that in and of itself can bring some challenges. So for stakeholder engagement, for example, how do we ensure effective communication and collaboration using different digital platforms? How can we actually do that? Also, equally, given the fact that we've got more of this information, how do we ensure that we guard against information overload? Because we're all overloaded with information. We've only got to check our emails, our phones, our different channels that we're involved in, all of that stuff going into one big pot. How do we make sure that the apparent advantages of that don't turn into their opposites by giving us like too much to handle? And I'm going to start off with Stacey and then move to Guillaume to answer that question. Stacey, your view.
Well, I'd say that obviously technology has a real opportunity to assist with stakeholder engagement. Perhaps getting the views or getting the information or data out there to a wider audience than we would have been able to previously. If you think of PFI or PPP projects, it's ever so important in those areas. But equally, I think we need to be mindful and not leave anyone behind because of the use of technology. So it's probably a double-edged sword there, but obviously a huge opportunity.
Guillaume, your thoughts on that one?
Well, so first you need to define obviously your processes, in order to make sure that you are leveraging correctly the technology, because even if we are providing technologies, the way we work needs to be defined in order for people to homogenize, the way they are working and the way they are delivering. But with digital project delivery, we are able to drastically, diminish that email problem we have, to diminish all those, exchange of analogic information, or even if it's through digital, but the way we are making it is really sequenced and isolated. So there is no continuity regarding that information, which represents a huge area of improvement. So basically, we are providing technology which is making that possible, but that needs to be defined very early stage to all stakeholders.
Thanks, Guillaume. I think Stacey mentioned when she spoke initially, you talked about some of the people issues that this brings to the fore as well. And Guillaume mentioned that digital project delivery can actually help resolve some of the issues that the industry has in terms of skill shortages, because it can enable organizations, companies, the industry as a whole to work more efficiently. And I guess that is the case. What do our panelists think about that as a concept, but also sort of turning that on its head as well? Is there a danger, though, that maybe the industry isn't skilled up enough in order to actually use some of these technologies? And might there be some cultural resistance to using them as well? Because we know sometimes that people can be somewhat conservative in their approach. And particularly when we look at digital application, there's been many surveys done into the construction and infrastructure sector that shows that the sector is actually lagging behind other industry sectors when it comes to the adoption of digital. So this whole people question, what are the thoughts on that? And I'm going to start with Jay, because obviously you're using this stuff on a daily basis. How have you found that people transition, getting people to do something different? How does that work for you guys?
It's an excellent question, and I think this is by far the most challenging part of it, because people tend to get motivated and excited about new technologies, and then sometimes you see a trend of somebody changing their title overnight into a BIM expert or just an information manager or something that's really not well defined from an industry standpoint. So, for example, you can't claim that you're an engineer or you're an architect because you don't have a license. But in technology, sometimes with new tools coming online, you hear these new titles come in quickly. So it's really very important to make sure you have internal standards and career ladders, so to speak, so that people earn these titles and they know what their career path is going to be. That way, one, you're ensuring quality, you're ensuring competence, but also avoiding that chaotic transition between different job descriptions and roles and responsibilities and titles. So I think it's multifaceted. Change management is always the toughest part. Letting go of certain skills that you are very comfortable with to learn something new, especially transitioning from 2D into 3D environments. That's also very critical. I know for myself, making the transition, I tend to think, this is how I'm going to build something in using these tools, but then a new tool comes online that's better or more efficient. It's a very difficult thing to break away from what you're used to doing. So yeah, working on that change management and then approaching it in a way to help people transition and learn new tools and new skill sets is by far the most challenging, I think.
Thanks, Jay. I want to just address a question kind of related to that, to Guillaume, and that is, I know, I've looked at the Autodesk website. You do some really interesting and quite exciting, actually, thought leadership activity, through your various sort of websites. And obviously all that helps to raise awareness about the benefits of digital tools. How do you think our industry is when it comes to understanding about those benefits? Do you think that the industry as a whole needs to do more? Do you think it's actually well on track now? What's your view on that? Is there a knowledge gap when it comes to a real awareness of the massive benefits that this kind of thing can bring? What's your view on that?
So it's an excellent question. So first, I think it's really depending on the sector. So depending on the sector, you have, in infrastructure, you have many sector, and in transportation as well, we have many subsector and different maturity. As you said at the beginning, in terms of maturity and there is some resistance of change, and I think we see a real adoption of technology more and more. So we are simplifying more and more our solutions, and it's becoming easier and easier. But from my perspective, I think that level of adoption is really depending on the industry. I see a high level of it's driven by the owner, basically, when we think about it. The owner and the public comment, when they are asking for a digital asset at the end, when they define correctly if they are well informed or if they are well digitally well mature, that helps obviously, yeah, but that needs to be super well defined. So basically, tool needs to be more easier to use, and this is something we see a real progression on that front, and there is the other angle, you know, by industry. So big projects typically where we have owners' maturity high require a better way to deliver projects. So yeah, it's linked to those two factors, I would say.
Daisy?
Yeah, I just wanted to agree with Guillaume there, because we too are seeing more adoption of technology, and being almost driven to find it in some instances. And perhaps that's because of, as you know, you alluded to earlier, it's because we're just surrounded so much now by data, by emails. We're driven to use technology to deal with that in turn. And I mean, I suppose, you know, 4 years ago with COVID, at least in my industry, that helped significantly to upskill lawyers, because you had to learn how to do it if you wanted to get on with your day job. And so that was really, really helpful in terms of the upskilling piece. Then you get the whole ChatGPT thing, which has really brought AI to the public, or to the foreground, and really increased awareness there, combined with the emphasis, you know, that we're being driven by clients. Actually, I actually think the adoption of tech is, you definitely have that whole change management piece, and that whole a bit of a, you know, risk and a bit of tentativeness to it, but there's a real drive, and I agree, Guillaume. Thank you.
Just saying, a really interesting question, coming back to this people issue, because at the end of the day, a lot of this, obviously it's about people, because it's people who is going to be implementing it at the end of the day. And there's a question from Moin, and he talks about, I think he's raising the potential danger that if through increased digital application, you know, some of the organizations in the industry maybe reduce the numbers of engineers and other skilled staff. Is there a danger that digitally available design, for example, doesn't undergo proper scrutiny before it's actually, you know, put out there? Is that a worry? Is that something to be, you know, to be looked at? What do people, you know, what do people think about that in terms of how this stuff is implemented, and what people do in relation to whether they use it to maybe change the dynamic of the staff? I don't know what your thoughts are on that, Jay.
I mean, absolutely, yeah. If there's no proper quality control, quality assurance processes in place to look at accuracy of the models, and then all the information, you know, the famous saying, garbage in, garbage out. So there has to be, you know, robust quality control processes, basically, so that nothing is shared or released before it's vetted and checked. I mean, it's the same process, right? Except that you're dealing now with exponentially more data sets, with reports, with models. I mean, I always revert back to that example of, like, the Empire State Building had, you know, 150 drawings in the whole construction document set. And now on any given job, you have thousands and thousands of reports and drawings and models. So really, there's a lot of room for errors and omissions, and quality control, and more important, like a progressive quality assurance process is really important, so that you're not getting to the final deliverable and you haven't checked it. So that progressiveness throughout the project evolution is really critical.
Thanks, Jay. I just want to ask what I hope is a topical question, and that is looking at the issue of sustainability, which obviously the whole of the industry is exercised by at the moment, is talking about how can digital project delivery, in your opinion, and if you can try and answer this briefly because we've got 5 minutes left, how can it actually basically lead to more sustainable practices going forward? And I guess that potentially something to do with data, but I'm not an expert. Guillaume, what's your view on that? How can this improve the industry's capacity to do sustainability better, for example?
So sustainability, and it depends on the angle you want to tackle, because there is the energy angle, you have the water angle, you have different angle, you have the social angle, you have lots of different angles. So now regarding energy, for example, you have the construction energy and the operation energy, and we need to design future things, but knowing what we have emitted for construction and what we're emitting from a performance perspective during operation. And if we want to capitalize that data, we need to capture that data. Today, we believe at Autodesk that we can do a better job, by connecting that data and by providing a digital project delivery platform, to deliver projects. I mean, at least for the carbon emission on that front. We are providing different solutions for that. Now, we can obviously better prevent water leaks, for example, because we're able to connect IoT, and we have a water portfolio which is enabled to measure the flow of water. So we are able to detect water leaks, and that's another angle. So digital project delivery can obviously help in many ways, but we need to capitalize on data because we need to know more about operation and construction, what we do in order to optimize what we design.
Thanks, Guillaume. I just want to ask a very, very quick question now to all of our panelists. What future do you see in relation to how digital project delivery, how is that going to exponentially increase across our industry? And try and be brief. What will the industry look like, in your opinion, in 5 years' time as this is adopted even more? And I'll start off with Jay and then go to Stacey and then finish with Guillaume. So Jay, your view on that. What's the future looking like?
Gosh, it's so hard to predict, but I can't help but think that AI is definitely gonna change the whole landscape. I think rather than looking at one design option or 10 or 15, you're going to be able to simulate thousands and thousands of options and really create this matrix of solutions that not only look at design but at construction impacts, at cost, travel time, as noise, and all other aspects of a project, and then really pick the optimal solution. Definitely a lot of mundane tasks are going to be eliminated and be automated because of AI. I think the demand is going to increase for more information and more data, especially as the project evolves. And we're definitely going to see a virtual world with, the realization of digital twin, or at least the promise of a digital twin. So, but again, it's really difficult to predict. I mean, we have no idea what will happen. So,
thanks, Jay. I think having looked at some of the stuff that McDonald are involved in, I think you have more than an idea of what's going to happen going forward. Stacey, what's your view on the future?
I'm going to agree with Jay. I entirely think it's going to be a digitally enabled future, an AI enabled future. And if you don't adopt it, I think we're going to see companies being left behind. And yeah, I agree with Jay. Full stop.
Thanks, Stacey. Guillaume, you're effectively just going to answer the last question. So again, the future as far as you're concerned.
So this is exactly aligned with what Jay just said. I mean, it's typically what we deliver for our vision statement. Now, it will occur. Is it Is it something will occur in the next 5 years or 10 years? We don't know yet, but definitely what Jay said is exactly what we're thinking. We definitely think that AI obviously will be a co-pilot to augment, you know, our capacity, and we see more mandates regarding sustainability and resiliency because we need to make something for the planet.
Thanks very much indeed, Guillaume, for that answer. We've run out of time, as we always do on these occasions. A fascinating conversation, a fascinating discussion. We probably could have gone on for another hour, actually. It's clear, I think, from you know, all of our speakers, that this is, on the one hand, an exciting area that is changing our industry for the better. I think if we get it right, and I suppose getting it right includes adequate investment in technology, proper training and education, those robust data management processes that Stacey mentioned earlier, but overall a culture that really embraces innovation and change, then I think there's no doubt in my mind that our industry, which, and I'm biased, I've worked in construction journalism and comms for many years, an industry that's already one of the best industries that anybody could work in is going to get even better, I think, as a result of the application of digital technology. All it remains for me to do is to thank our speakers, to thank Guillaume Joubert from Autodesk, Jay Maidser from Mott MacDonald, and also Stacey Sinclair from Fenwick Elliott. Thanks for all your insights and all your answers to the questions. It just remains for me, Andy Walker from Infrastructure Global, to thank everyone for attending. We'll put a recording of the webinar up for people to watch afterwards, and we'll also report on it on the website. But for now, on this, whether it's Wednesday morning, evening, or afternoon, wherever you've been logging on from, thank you very much indeed, and goodbye, and we'll see you next time. Thanks very much.
Thanks to you, Andy.
Thanks. Have a good day. Bye.
Bye.